What's up, everybody? This is the podcast formerly known as 100 Yards of Podcast. This is me, Marshall Stovall here, leading us in today. We got Omar Rasham Borja, Soda Pop Borja, joining us today on the podcast. Joining us every week. He's the co-host. Don't get confused. Today, we got some really juicy talk. We're going to finish you off with some incredible discussions of some potentially extremely sexy bowl matchups. NSFW, for those of you with children around. And then we're going to start us off here, though, with a little bit of a talk on the Pac-12. What do you got for us there, Omar?
Yeah, Marshall, on your point with the sexy bowl matchups, I'm going to take some of like Jake Paul's quotes, from the weigh-in. Hey, do not let your kids watch this. Your kids watch this. I mean, those of you that know Jake Paul warned Nate Robinson's kids not to watch the fight and knock their dad out, which is like that's really sad. Like now that I think about it, it's like so sad.
Did you see the thing with him when Jose Canseco was calling him out?
No, I did not.
Well, because apparently he used to date Jose Canseco's daughter. And so Jose Canseco was like, oh, I'll fight you or something. And then Jake Paul replied and he said, I love smashing Cansecos. Sign me up.
Dude, this man's too savage for his own good. Like, low key, like, I don't know, man. But, something I'd rather see than another Jake Paul fight is a Pac-12 team in the playoff, which the Pac-12 took a tremendous blow this weekend. As many of you know, as many watched the Civil War on Black Friday, one that came down to the wire, as Oregon State won their first Civil War in, I think, a long time. Might have been since 2013 or possibly further back. But Oregon was like the main hope for the playoff for the Pac-12 because mostly reputation, which that's another thing we can get into, how like the role reputation has in like the polls and like preseason polling. But also, really, that's the only reason I can think of them being a Pac-12 contender, like other than being the best team and having that reputation. Now that leaves 3 undefeated teams in the Pac-12. Each have suffered with cancellations. USC, Washington, and Colorado, surprisingly. It's the 90s again. Colorado's back in the national title talk, kind of. So I guess we'll go through each team. USC, the other ranked team in the playoff. What are your thoughts on their playoff resume or playoff prospects, Marshall?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's like they've irked out a few wins, most notably Arizona State week 1. But in all reality, like I don't think they've looked that strong. Like their week 2 win, it seemed kind of shaky as well. I don't know. I don't think there's anything there that's really convincing me. I forget their quarterback's name, He's not bad. He's not bad, but I think give him another year or two to develop, he could be really good. But it's like USC, it's like they're just not impressing me. Like I don't there's nothing that tells me that I look at, this is dumb, with all the talk about analytics and stuff, and so I'm going here by the eye test. But it's like truly like, what do they bring to the table? Like I guess if you compare it relative to the top 4 teams, they get smoked. Relative to the next 4 teams, they probably get smoked. Like I don't know. I just don't see. I could see them losing, to a good Coastal Carolina, a good Marshall, a good, like I think those teams could play with them. Like I don't see why they're even in the discussion, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you there. Yeah, like their wins. Look at their wins. The 1-point win against Arizona State, 4-point come from behind victory over Arizona, who just lost to UCLA, 2-loss UCLA on primetime, which interesting primetime choice for a game. They had a 2-score win against Utah a couple weeks ago. And Utah notably blew a 21-0 lead on Saturday Night Football this past weekend. And their 2 remaining games, Washington State on Sunday night, which is a chance for like the eye test. That could be a game that like gets voters going. That's like fresh in the voters' mind. Recency effect having that Sunday night game. But they also got UCLA. Washington State sits at 1-1, UCLA at 2-2. Which their best win would probably be against. Utah's played only 3 games or 2 games, I think. Yeah, Utah's played only 2 games. UCLA's at 2-2, so UCLA wins like their game before, against Arizona State before USC. That makes them 3-2. There's just not really any like good wins other than it's like, hey, they're in a power conference and they're USC. But we're not talking Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush or even OJ here. It's just USC. So I
totally agree. It's like, and honestly, it wouldn't be surprising if they lose one of those last 2 games to Washington State or UCLA. Yeah. It's just like they're not like a juggernaut. They're not going to go in there and beat them 45-0. They might irk out a win against them. And when you irk out wins consistently, you're going to lose a few.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, Keaton Slovis, though, great quarterback, draft ready. Well, maybe not draft ready, but I'd say, yeah, give him a year and he could be, the top quarterback selected in next year's draft, or that might be Justin Fields. I don't know. Oh, well, either one. I guess the next team we have is Washington.
Mm.
They're also at 3-0. They had one cancellation against the 0-3 Cal team. That was in week 1. But they have wins against Oregon State, which now looks like a good resume-building win. Arizona as well. They beat Arizona more handily by 17 on the 21st. And they beat Utah in that game I was talking about on Saturday Night Football. Pretty much like the only good option after all the cancellations that happened. Utah blew a 21-0 lead. And their remaining schedule is a 1-2 Stanford team. But they have a chance to get a ranked victory over Oregon. And then, if they win the North, they could play USC or Colorado, who could also end up ranked. So you have a Washington squad with 2 ranked wins out of the Pac-12. Like, how do you think that stacks up compared to USC?
I mean, it's obviously, much better. But I still don't, and just in terms of the playoff in general, I don't think it's enough still. Because if you're assuming that there's a 4th spot open in the playoff, they're competing against, a Cincinnati team with an excellent resume, like a BYU team with an excellent resume, Texas A&M with an excellent teams have just as good or better resumes than them. So it's yeah, they may get a win over Oregon, but at the end of it all, that'll leave Oregon with 2 losses. What does that say? I don't know. There's just not, it's just like what's it called? The scope of work, right? If you only play 5-6 games, what can you really prove? I mean, this was the whole point of adding in conference championships to begin with, to give that extra week, that extra bullet point. And it's if you're already at such a disadvantage, it's just I don't think you can overcome that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They would have a better resume than USC, particularly. But again, that short body work, the Pac-12 out of any conference could have, they're the ones that could have not afforded to have any cancellations at all. And I mean, I think we're finding a common theme here with these Pac-12 schools. But I will say this, and I do this question. If Washington State found a way to play BYU instead of Utah this current weekend, do you think that might have vaulted them into the playoff talk? Or even the other way around, might have vaulted BYU into the New Year's Six talk?
Sorry. Say that last bit again.
So there was talk earlier in the week. Probably this is probably the hottest topic in college football, with BYU declining to play.
Oh, yep.
Do you think that would have helped Washington's playoff prospects, or in turn might have helped BYU in their pursuit of the New Year's Six?
Yeah, no, it definitely would have helped BYU. I don't if Washington beat BYU, it obviously helps them. I still don't know if that's enough, because then it's people are already doubting BYU, so it's if they get a loss, then people are going to be oh, they were nothing to begin with, Washington beat them. And then I don't think it'll be as impressive for Washington. But if BYU beats Washington, it's oh, ranked Power 5 win. Washington, seeing, depending how things play out, they could potentially still have a shot at the title, I think you could end up with almost BYU being a better Louisiana Lafayette, if you will, in that they have a win over a potential conference champion. And then they'd be undefeated regardless. So I think BYU, I don't know why they wouldn't. I think this is one of those years where it's in the NFL or NBA, you might trade a bunch of players, a bunch of draft picks to get that 1-star player, go all in, This is that year you go all in. You schedule them. You get that on the resume, and you do everything you can, because who knows how long, this good team is going to last. There's no guarantees they'll be back at this point next year. You got to schedule them. You just have to.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. This isn't Zach Wilson's fault at all for wearing the headband anytime, any team, anywhere, because he's not the athletic director in the end. I mean, he's not the head coach. He's just there to play who's ever in front of him. But yeah, I totally agree. For them to bank off I part of the blame goes on the playoff committee for absolutely screwing BYU. I mean, it's not their fault that they're an independent. Well, I mean, it kind of is, because they left the Mountain West. But I mean, it's not their fault that that their schedule is rearranged by everything. They're just playing whoever. When you have 2 lost teams in front of them in the Power 5, especially, they want to talk about strength of schedule and head-to-head matchups. When you have Iowa State ranked ahead of Louisiana Lafayette, when they proved obviously that they're the better team on field, and then Coastal Carolina ranked behind Iowa State as well when they beat that or ranked behind Iowa State when they beat that Louisiana team. It just shows the flaws in the playoff, and people are really disgruntled, especially this year, for sure. I mean, with that, we never know what the playoff committee is thinking. Another surprise team that has emerged out of the Pac-12, and probably like the last contender, like the absolute last hope, is the Colorado Buffaloes, who are at 3-0 with wins over UCLA, 1-2 Stanford, and this past week after their Arizona State game got canceled, San Diego State, the Fighting Brady Hoax out of San Diego, a 2-score win out in Boulder. The remaining schedule isn't as favorable. They have Arizona and Utah. They could sneak out into the the bottom half of the ranking of the CFP rankings. But I feel like this isn't a question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Like, what do you think about Colorado's playoff hopes?
I mean, it's like, dude, they're facing no teams that are like even like not just ranked, but like, and I guess Utah, Arizona, maybe it could be a better resume building, win. But it's like you have no shot at the playoff if you have one, maybe a resume building win. It's like let's not kid ourselves here. Looking back at their game that got canceled against Arizona State, right? It's like if that hadn't got canceled, then maybe I would consider them a playoff team. Given Arizona State one loss team in the Pac-12, I think that could be a solid win for them. But I'm just kidding. No, I don't think they have any realistic chance.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I like to hope for it, I mean, I am a purist. I like I'm a group of 5 guy for sure, but I think it's kind of cool when the sleeping giants awaken. And it's been a while since we've had the Colorado of Cordell Stewart, Rashawn Salam, Heisman winner Eric Bieniemy doing great things now with the Chiefs offense, sending quarterbacks in motion in play. But anyway, that'll be great for their program, but I just don't see it either. I mean, it's just kind of tough. Like, I think the Pac-12 and the Big Ten is feeling it now. If they're going to start, they should have started more time to implement for postponements, because now they have the chance of having their best team in the conference. Ohio State not even playing the conference title game. Yet Ohio State only with 4 wins and 2 cancellations, it's egregiously ranked highly in, ranked number 4 in the playoff, which is another issue. But I just think the Pac-12, I mean, if there was any end game for the Pac-12, I just don't think they should have played, to be quite frank, or even the Big Ten. If you're going to start, why start so late? And this might even extend to the MAC, but that's an opinion for another time. We'll have to see with the Pac-12, literal chaos, and it's 2020, so we never know. Literal chaos would have to happen for the Pac-12 to make the playoff, especially Colorado. Mm-hmm. That would be the most 2020 thing to happen.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if 2020 even has enough left in store for that one.
Yeah. 2020 is like Jimmy Butler bending over at the hoop right now.
Sorry to all the Buffaloes out there. What's their mascot called? What's his name?
Ralphie.
Ralphie. Sorry to all the Ralphie fans out there, but yeah. I don't see it in the. I played a little tarot deck out. I don't see it in the future, unfortunately.
Tarot deck. Yeah. I mean, it would be a shame too, because this year the Rose Bowl is a semifinal, so we could have actually had a very unique and traditional. I mean, maybe not traditional, but a unique Rose Bowl matchup aside from the playoff. Mm-hmm. I mean, we could have had potentially, because Ohio State would have made the playoff, opening the door for Indiana or even Northwestern to make the Rose Bowl for the first time in a long time against maybe say Colorado. That would have been really cool. But now we're stuck with something very unorthodox, maybe even a Notre Dame Clemson Rose Bowl, which this will be Notre Dame's first Rose Bowl since 1925, which is pretty cool. Since the Four Horsemen, actually.
If you're just listening to this and not watching, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit here in that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like a rematch, but it's cool that Notre Dame's playing the Rose Bowl for the first time since 1925. For the first time since the Coolidge administration. That might have been Coolidge or Harding. I'll have to check that.
We'll get our
I don't know my president. Silent Cal, man. He's an underrated president. Yeah, I was right. The Coolidge administration. I guess we're turning into a history podcast now, but there's a story about Calvin Coolidge. Someone, I'm sure this is well known, but someone next to him said, "I bet you can't say more than 3 words, or I bet I can get you to say more than 3 words during this day." And you know what Calvin Coolidge said?
What do you say?
"You lose," and he won the bet. They called him Silent Cal for a reason.
You're gonna have to tell me that again because my internet cut out a little bit. I didn't hear the full joke, but we'll go over that later.
We will. Well, so we'll move on to our little, our kind of, I guess, sexy part. Cue the careless whisper for these sexy bowl matchups that we got in store for you. So, these keep in mind that a lot of these aren't my own. I saw these on bowl seasons projections and even the Athletic as well, or at least a screenshot of an Athletic article since I'm not paying for the paywall there. But there's a lot of flexibility in this bowl cycle. For instance, the MAC, the American Conference USA, and the Sun Bowl are pooling together on a lot of picks, so it's really hard to project. But it gives like a lot of room for imagination. So I guess like the first spicy bowl matchup is at Legion Field, historic Legion Field on New Year's Day. I hinted about like skipping this one before, but I figured we might as well talk about it. It's New Year's Day Bowl. Should be an all group of 5 affair. And in that one, I have a UAB out of Conference USA and potentially Tulsa out of the American. But SEC could always send a team. That is the SEC's bowl game. Probably won't get Bama or Auburn for an all-state affair. But any thoughts on the Blazers on New Year's Day? Blazers Hurricanes? Because the Hurricanes could end up being ranked. Could end up staying ranked, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually potentially a really good matchup. I think it'd be interesting if UAB got ranked too. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but because, I mean, comparing it to the matchup they had last year, we had ranked Cincinnati and Boston College. I think UAB and I think, whatever team ends up getting it, I think that's just a very, it's a much more interesting matchup. UAB staying at home, maybe get a little home field advantage there. That could be, I know those Alabama folks aren't really scared of COVID. They'll probably show out for the bowl. Who knows? I think it's interesting for sure.
To our listeners in Alabama, we don't mean to call you out. My sister was born in the great state of Alabama, Huntsville. So just please don't be angry at us. We take it back. But I mean, I do agree. I think these ESPN sponsored bowls, they do a good job of kind of creating like, I guess, New Year's Six type matchups out of the group of 5, which will go into, which we'll elaborate more on. But like, there's been like kind of titanic matchups that they've created in the past. ESPN has, whether it be like the 2014 Boca Raton Bowl with Marshall and Northern Illinois, both conference champs. That was a 13-1 Marshall team with Rakeem Cato. Or 2017 with Army and San Diego State, where they pulled a bunch of strings to have those two teams play together after both. I think San Diego State had 10 wins and Army with 9. Really good game out of the group of 5. I think they can pull some strings there to like make that a Tulsa UAB affair. But I think it'll be good for the Blazers too to play an SEC school, possibly like a name brand program on a down year like LSU, Tennessee. I mean,
oh my God, dude, that'd be how hilarious would that be? If you have UAB and LSU and they go in there and just smack LSU.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like that'll be a thing. Like I don't think the bowl is going to look much towards like geography. I mean, other than, if it's like something very obvious like the Birmingham Bowl with UAB. But I mean, you look at a bowl with a team where like they wouldn't usually get because of like recent success like LSU. That's a brand name and people are on TV. Like they're like watching or okay, well, let's see, LSU's on at noon right before the Rose Bowl. Why not? So I figured that could be something big for both like the Blazers, Conference USA to get a Power 5 win in bowl season, also like play on New Year's Day. I mean, I think that's the first ever time that they've played on New Year's Day. Conference USA has or would have.
Really?
I think so. I guess in a bowl game because I'd have to look because they had the Liberty Bowl. Actually, I'm wrong. They had the 2014 Heart of Dallas Bowl, but that was like a backup tie-in that they had. I think.
Gotcha.
With North Texas playing UNLV. I think that's the strangest New Year's Day bowl in recent memory in North Texas. But oh well. So I guess this one, I think we might push this one, the next one I have on my list to the last because it's the sexiest of them all. Like if the kids aren't out of the room by that time, then, it's hopeless. So going up next, we got Liberty and against UCF in Memphis. The bowl season had Liberty playing UCF in the Boca Raton Bowl, so that's where we got that one. As well as bowl season had Tulsa playing the Birmingham Bowl against BYU, but I'm anticipating BYU finding a way to get into the New Year's Six somehow. But what do you think about Liberty playing UCF like bowl season specifies, or against Memphis even?
I absolutely love that. I mean, yeah, we got Liberty, extremely strong. They're going to have College Game Day. I think I was discussing to you earlier. It's like, if people tune in to Coastal Carolina Liberty Game Day, they may see, and you hear Hugh Freeze rumors, on ESPN, just like kind of wandering around anyway. So people are starting to get a little bit of name recognition with Liberty. And then you see, them facing another good UCF team, and UCF a little bit of name recognition, even Memphis, a little bit of name recognition. That's a game people will tune into. I think that's a really attractive game. Liberty, obviously a strong team. Give them a chance to prove themselves again against a strong, American team. I think that's just an awesome opportunity for them. That's a program building. I mean, who knows? Like, if Hugh Freeze even sticks around, that could be an amazing recruiting pitch for the future. Maybe they start stepping up their program a little more. Who knows? It's like, who knows? Who knows? Compared to last year, you had FAU and SMU. I think this matchup is head and shoulders above last year's.
That's bold because SMU was ranked for most of the year.
But not at the end. Not at the end.
Yeah, that's true. Not at the end. And of course, I mean, I don't know about you, man. Like the Lane train, you're a Lane Kiffin devotee. I don't know how you can say that. But I totally,
I gotta give credit where credit's due, man. Hugh Freeze, Lane Kiffin.
I don't know.
I might give the edge to Hugh Freeze there.
Hugh Freeze doesn't have the clipboard tosses. Like he doesn't have the
but Hugh tosses. Dude, Hugh Freeze in the was that like the elevating thing? When he had COVID. Do you remember that at the beginning of the season?
Oh, that was last year with Syracuse when he had like back surgery. When he's
was there not one this year too?
I don't think so.
I might be getting mixed up with someone else.
The cherry picker?
I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out later.
But for sure, like that one could be and like people love quarterbacks. You got two of like the best and most underrated quarterbacks in the game playing in that one. Actually, like with either case, UCF or Memphis, like you'd have Malik Willis, who should be a Heisman finalist in my eyes, against Dylan Gabriel, who can sling the ball around for UCF, and then Brady White as well, setting career records at Memphis, leading that offense. I mean, for sure, there'll be points like abounding for sure. And I totally agree as well. Like Liberty's got all the money in the world. I think in the prior podcast, we mentioned how Liberty is actually like handing out paycheck games to Group of 5 schools because they're just that stacked, being pretty much the flagship school for evangelical Christianity, being that like sort of home team for Protestants like myself. But, like that would be a thrilling matchup. But as Brent McMurphy, with his inside information said, they're at risk of not having a bowl because their bowl tie-in is a secondary bowl time with the ESPN Bowl. So if there's an open spot from a conference, then they'd fill it. But there's no bowl requirements. So every conference should be able to fill slots. But if you're a bowl, I think you should, choose a 10-1 Liberty team versus like, a middling American school / Conference USA. I mean, especially for TV purposes,
I agree.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, again, it comes back to that important name recognition. If they build a little bit of that here into the end of the year, could go a long ways in getting them a spot.
Very true. I mean, the biggest game this weekend, of course, game day, as you mentioned, is there. I think it's like the only top 25 matchup, possibly, or AP top 25 matchup. We'll just have to see. So the next matchup that's like pretty sexy, is the Potato Bowl, a favorite of many people's just because of the name and the blue field. But in that one, that's a MAC versus Mountain West showdown. And for that one, I have San Jose State and Nevada. This is organic to me, at least in the ones that I've seen, which I'm going off the bowl season projections. San Jose State, Nevada, and Kent State. So San Jose State having the great year that they're having right now. That's if they don't reach the conference title game because this game's on the 22nd. And Nevada's a contingency because Nevada just lost to Hawaii. Hawaii's out there causing chaos in the Mountain West. I don't know if you guys are staying up late for these games, but Hawaii and Nevada went down to the wire. Really unbelievable. Chavon Cordero doing great things for the Warriors. So Nevada's currently behind the Mountain West race. But both those teams can put up points. And San Jose State plays great defense, having a dream year. But on Kent State, we have probably one of the most NFL-ready quarterbacks that you don't know about, Dustin Crum. And that Kent State team can put up points. They play – I forget how many points they laid against Akron, but it was definitely a lot on a weeknight action game. And then Crum played pretty well against Buffalo, but, everyone knows about Jarrett Patterson's 8-touchdown game, so his performance was overshadowed for sure. But Crum is he's got size. He's 6'3", 207. He can throw the ball. He can run the ball. He's got
Crum
passing.
Crum versus Julian Edelman. Where do you rank that?
Crum, definitely.
Really?
Edelman never went to a bowl. But Edelman could run the heck out of the ball, but so could Crum. I mean, last year in the Frisco Bowl, I forget how many yards exactly he had. So, I mean, this year, we'll start this year with Crumb stats. He's got 1,181 yards in 4 games, 12 touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns, 5 yards a carry, and that's without accounting for sacks. And then last year, 2,622 yards for 20 touchdowns and 6 rushing touchdowns and 700 rushing yards. Again, not accounting for sacks. And in that Frisco Bowl, which really opened up the eyes of the nation to Crumb, he had 289 passing yards and 147 rushing yards and 23 carries. So, I mean, Crumb is like, he's got the size and he can throw the ball. Should be a really good matchup, especially if he plays Nevada and Carson's strong out there and Nevada's high-flying pass offense. Should be really good. Like, I want to know your thoughts on that, Marshall.
I love it. No, I absolutely love it. I think, I don't know. So first, shout out Borja Report on your article earlier about San Jose State's biggest game in the last, 20 years, I think it was?
Yeah, 20 years, possibly more even.
So let's say, obviously that game disappointingly got canceled, right? And so I think, where do you think you now rank this bowl matchup in their games of the last 20 years?
I think it all depends because if they actually get to the Mountain West title game and actually get that game against Boise State,
yeah,
in the conference title game, a team they've never beat ever,
that would obviously rank above, sure.
Yeah, it'll rank above, but I think like you look at their bowl matchups, they've never played a Power 5 team, which I'll go into detail like right after this. I mean, all their bowl games kind of seemed like they weren't really like big games. Like you go back to 2015, the Cure Bowl. Against Georgia State, a game that I watched. I think in that 2015 year, I watched all but 4 or 5 bowl games. Just don't ask why. In that game, they were 5-7 playing against a 6-6 Sun Belt team. You go back to 2012. I think that might have been their biggest bowl matchup because that was the first time they were ranked since 1975. But they played like an 8-4 Bowling Green team at a crumbling RFK Stadium in Washington. It wasn't really a flagship game. 2006, the New Mexico Bowl against New Mexico, not really an impactful game. So I mean, I think I think this game kind of like it ranks above those, but it's still like not great in like magnitude because Kent State's good, but they were not like a division champ or anything. So that's kind of a long answer to that.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, I would agree. I think it's like sometimes, as a person not in as in depth as you within, all the group of 5 stuff, it's like I hear Kent State, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool name. Cool matchup. Dustin Crum, football guy name. I love it. So that, I'm coming from the perspective of the casual fan here. It's like I love the whole the aura around it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got to get Big Cat. We're gonna talk football.
As stupid as it sounds. It's as stupid as it sounds.
No, it's not stupid at all. I mean, yeah, football guys are definitely good for the casual fan. We got to get Big Cat and PFT on the podcast, talk football, our favorite football guys. But in addition to that, I guess moving on to our next sexy matchup, the First Responders Bowl, which this one's a long shot because there's just better options geographically, but the Mountain West does have a tie-in to a Dallas-based bowl game. What ESPN does, they tend to trade bowl tie-ins for like better matchups. But the First Responders Bowl has an option to play against either the Big 12 or the ACC, and that's something that at San Jose State has never played a Power 5 team in a bowl game ever. So I mean, there's always a first for everything here. A couple years ago, the First Responder Bowl had Boston College versus Boise State in the infamous, the first bowl to be canceled, I think ever, pre-COVID. But for that one, I have Texas Tech against San Jose State. In that one, again, points because of Big 12 defenses. And I mean, I'm not a person that craps on Big 12 defenses for the sake of it. I mean, again, like, and even then on the ACC side, there's some like fascinating matchups. Like they could just send a team to Texas, tell a team with like a losing record, like, hey, screw off, go to Texas. Like Virginia Tech having a struggling year, even Pitt.
Is there any shot we see San Jose State take on Texas there?
I think the Alamo Bowl scoops them up, honestly. Like they all do.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah, no, I still like the match. I think, San Jose State, great matchup for them. Like just the national scale, giving them out against a Power 5 team, especially if they can get a win. Even if Texas Tech not really, turning many heads this year. But, for San Jose State, that'd be great for their program.
Yeah, for sure. Even against TCU possibly could be another one, but I'd say they put TCU in the Armed Forces Bowl because that's their home stadium.
Yeah,
that could be a revenge for that upset in 2000 where TCU was ranked 9th and San Jose State upset TCU and then control their own destiny in the WAC, only to lose the final 2 games of the season in perfect.
I'm sure TCU doesn't sleep at night thinking about that.
I think LaDainian Tomlinson doesn't sleep at night thinking about that. I think he still has trouble with that game.
He has nightmares of Trojans.
of Trojan Man, particularly.
Exactly.
I would say the little Dicky line about Trojan Man from his freestyle, but it's a bit too risky. Like,
I mean, we've already established this is NSFW. I mean, this could be on Pornhub, really.
No. I mean, I guess you're right. I mean, maybe. I think we should just move on from that point.
Okay, let's keep it going.
We'll continue the bowl sexiness here. So the next one we have is the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Possibly whoever the Boca Raton Bowl doesn't take in UCF or Memphis against App State. A bit of a brand name appeal, as brand name as you can get for the group of fives, for sure. App State having a quietly good year. Their only losses are to undefeated group of 5 teams, Marshall, and Coastal Carolina. So I want your thoughts on that game, Marshall.
Yeah, sorry, you cut out a little bit. Can you say the beginning of the matchup again?
Yeah. So Memphis and App State with App State's having a quietly nice year. Lost to undefeated group of 5 teams, being Marshall and Coastal, and then Memphis being Memphis as well. A little bit of brand name appeal.
Yeah, I think brand name perspective, great matchup. I feel like people are surprisingly recognizing App State a lot more now. Like, there's some respect going on their program, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Get them a win against Memphis. That's all. I mean, just continue the train. Anytime you get this team like App State facing anyone that people recognize, like, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to get at is I have for App State. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, App State had a CBS appearance early in the year before the Power 5, before the Big Ten and Pac-12 came and ruined things. Screw them. But yeah, like Memphis has been playing well this year. They only have 2 losses, but if they play anywhere like they did this past Saturday against Navy, it won't be a good game for them, because this game against Navy, it seemed like no one wanted to win that game. Memphis had turnovers. Navy threw a pick in the red zone and missed a game-tying field goal. It was just an awful game to watch. Ended 10-7. So hopefully Memphis doesn't play like that, but I mean, I like that. I mean, I see points. I mean, it's like the total contrast between unstoppable force versus a movable object. App State playing good defense, and then Memphis, with the fast-paced offense with Brady White, Arizona State transfer, leading the show.
Yeah.
So moving on to our next sexy bowl matchup, probably we're moving to the sexiest matchups of them all. So, I'm pretty sure you guys felt this one coming. There is definitely a way where Coastal Carolina and Marshall can meet up in a bowl game. And we're looking at the Cure Bowl, as both teams are going to be in their conference title games most likely, unless Marshall finds a way to lose their final 2 games and instead send Florida Atlantic, which I don't think is likely. We just don't. But Coastal Carolina Marshall, like, on a Saturday at the Cure Bowl, in the Citrus Bowl, the bowl capital of the world, like, how sexy is that?
That is max, dude. That's like if I was looking at it, that's a 10 out of 10. That's a dime piece of a bowl game. I mean, let's talk about who the Cure Bowl had last year. Liberty and Georgia Southern. Like, come on now. We're getting 2 conference champions in there now. Like, that could be fucking sick.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Orlando's bowls. I mean, you look at the Citrus Bowl on New Year's Day. It's always been the lead up to the Rose Bowl. I mean, like, you just think back to the 90s, just end of the time machine with me. You have Brent Musburger in Orlando on New Year's Day, calling the Citrus Bowl as a lead-in to Keith Jackson calling the Rose Bowl. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's just how it should be. And, I mean, this year it kind of harkens back to that in a group of 5 fashion. Like, it really does. And even then, you look at the Camping World Bowl, now the Cheez-It Bowl. That's had some great matchups, too, whether it be Notre Dame last year in a game on ABC against Iowa State, or, a Big 12 or a Big East reunion, whether it was West Virginia when they almost won the Big 12 in 2018 against Syracuse. It's just Orlando Bowls make the world go round, and that's just the end of the year that we need in 2020. We need the bright sun shining in Orlando against 2 group of 5 ranked in the CFP conference champions, both undefeated. Hopefully, that's
just you can't script it any better. Like, the only way you could script it better is if you put them both in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, beautiful. All due respect to Louisiana, though. I mean, they could easily take Coastal Carolina's spot. They could be the conference champion there for sure.
But that would still be a good matchup.
Exactly. Yeah, not taking anything away from them.
There's no losers here.
Yeah, no one loses on Boxing Day, you know, especially Canadian friends.
And
So,
I will say this matchup is particularly interesting, probably to Greg Berry. For some reason he's been talking to me lately. He has like a hard on for Orlando for some reason. But
oh, interesting. Will he be finding his way down there for Christmas break? Hopefully, Orlando, Greg, for Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. Definitely check out Camping World Stadium, or it's still the Citrus Bowl. It's still the Citrus Bowl to me. I mean, I'm sorry, as you can tell by my hat, I got a bowl. So I guess our last matchup for sure is, Bulls have a habit of, either reuniting rivals, whether it's the 2015 Las Vegas Bowl against BYU, with BYU and Utah in a game called by the GOAT, Brent Musburger, on ABC. One of his last game, or not one of his last games, but, in a game that reunited rivals. You've had the talks. Every year it seems to happen that Texas isn't in the New Year's Six. Well, they play Texas A&M in the Texas Bowl. Every year it happens. You can't deny. But this year, hopefully with LSU having a down year, Tulane having a solid year, almost beating their first-ranked teams since 1984. Sorry, Tulane fans. I've been rooting for you guys, except in the Army game. But how about a little Tiger Rag Birmingham Bowl or Gasparilla Bowl? Do you think it happens, frankly? Or, I mean, that's something I'd love to see.
I think, it's definitely possible. I don't, like, realistically speaking, like, unless LSU can, find themselves, winning out, adding 10 games to the schedule, getting in the SEC title game, getting the playoff, I don't see any reason this doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends because, again, like we said earlier about brand names kind of grabbing up bowls, because pretty much the one thing isn't geographical location, like with how many fans you can get to fill a stadium because of COVID. It's really just like TV appeal, because there's no TV shows on. Like, what else are people going to watch? They can watch Christmas Story all day long, leading up to Christmas, or whatever on a New Year's Day. Like, it just depends if, like, the SEC's bowls grab up LSU before then. But please make this happen. I mean, please make a Tiger Rag Bowl happen, please, because they haven't played since 2007. I have to check the last time Tulane.
How about you give all the listeners a little bit of history on the Tiger Rag?
Yeah, so the Tiger Rag, I don't know if you guys knew, but Tulane and LSU used to be in the same conference. Yes, that's right. Tulane used to be in the SEC. So that is until Tulane left in, I'll have to check the year really quick. But, I mean, this, like, keep in mind, I collect, the old broadcast of the games. I'm not sure if I've implied that before. But this is a game that used to be on ABC kind of routinely, like semi-routinely. The game was on ABC as a regional broadcast. Kind of gives you an idea of, like, how important it was. Sorry, I looked up Tiger Rag, and the song from the Dixieland Jazz Band from 1917 came up instead of the rivalry page. So, yeah, Tulane left the SEC in 1966, but they continued to play year after year. But the rivalry kind of tailed off. They stopped playing each other on a yearly basis in 1994. And ever since 1996, there's only been 6 meetings in the rivalry. The last time Tulane's won is 1982. I'm not going to count how many times that is. Let's see, 81. LSU's won 18 straight games. Last meeting was in 2009, where number 9 LSU beat Tulane 42-0. But keep in mind, Tulane led LSU's national title team in 2007 at the half, 9-7, in the game that Matt Forte played. So, I mean, there is some history there, and it's not really bad blood as much as, like, I think it's just the fact that Tulane wants a home game against LSU, and it's fair. They're an in-state opponent, but we all know how Power 5 snobbery goes, There's nothing else to say. No punches pulled.
How cool would that be to have, like, a mashup logo of, like, the Tiger? What's the Tiger's name?
Mike
LSU.
Tiger.
Mashup Mike the Tiger surfing on the green wave.
Oh yeah, I think there's a picture that one of the Tulane blogs, Fear the Wave, has posted before. I've seen it before. I'll have to find it. I might put it in the link. But correction, Tulane was not leading at halftime. LSU kicked a field goal with 2 seconds left to take a 10-9 lead at halftime. But the game was still within reach. It was a 29 game at the start of the fourth quarter.
But, of course, coaching genius Les Miles got them back on track.
He got the Tigers on track, but this LSU team came in at second in the polls in that game. But yeah.
And I'm just saying, Les Miles again getting Kansas back on track too. Just saying.
I don't know about that one, Chief. They're gonna have to cover first if they're back on track.
Hey, don't get too greedy there, all right?
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. Uh, but potentially, I mean, I think I would take a Birmingham or Gasparilla Bowl Tiger Rag over a lot of things winter break for sure. You know, those close to me know some things that are that I'm looking forward to and I'm holding dear, and I'm not going to specify, but yeah, just know that I hold a potential Tiger Rag matchup very highly on my Christmas list.
Well, maybe Santa will deliver for you this year, Omar.
Hopefully. Yeah. I mean, and I mean, there's other options too in terms of the American like that happening for the Birmingham or the Tiger Rag. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think at the moment, just like in terms of like standings. You got Memphis, Tennessee. That's another one, but that one like they don't have as much history against each other. Another cool in-state matchup of like you just don't really see. As well as I'm trying to think out of the American as well. Who else? I would say Temple, but Temple's absolutely awful this year. I can't even say anything about Temple. But yeah, like I mean, I just think it's interesting. We'll have to see when the bowls come out, and it's going to be a fluid situation. Like, ironically enough, one of the bowls is the day before Selection Sunday, so they're just going to probably pick up two teams they know don't have a chance at like any of the later bowls. They're looking at Tulane and UTSA in the Frisco Bowl, the first bowl of the year. So it should be interesting.
Yeah. I think end of the day we got a lot of really, really, I'm talking like red tube type matchups coming up for this bowl season.
Yeah, one I forgot to mention is Army and the Independence Bowl, because with the Sun Bowl getting canceled, the Holiday Bowl getting canceled, sadly, I love the history of the Holiday Bowl, very iconic bowl. The what do you call it? The Red Box Bowl in San Francisco getting canceled. See, that's three. Did I mention the? I think I mentioned the Sun Bowl. Well, four bowls from the Pac-12 and the Las Vegas Bowl. That's the fourth bowl that had been canceled. That leaves the Pac-12 with only, I think, four non-New Year's Six bowl tie-ins, possibly less. And that means Army can find themselves playing against like USC, Colorado, an undefeated Colorado school that gets passed up by everyone, even Washington. So like the big winners in like the long run with the Sun Bowl's news, America just okay. Let me get this. Let me just break this to you. America lost when the Sun Bowl got canceled. I saw someone tweet, no more sappy CBS intro because it's been televised on CBS every year since 1968. It survived the Nixon administration, Watergate, you name it, Iran Contra, 9/11. The Sun will be there for us, and it won't be this year. It's very sad. No more.
Wasn't it the second longest running bowl
Yeah, second longest running bowl
behind the Rose Bowl?
to the Rose Bowl, of course. My family had plans going to it. We would have taken extra, COVID precautions, sat on top of the stadium, but it's just a sad day for America. It's a day that will live in infamy, in the words of FDR, December 1st, 2020. But the big winner in it all is America, is Army. I guess America too. I mean, since, who doesn't love the troops?
They're the big winner until Army just gets absolutely stomped on by.
Hey, man, have faith in us, all right? The Pac-12 isn't ready for the triple option. They're just
if the triple option tears up Colorado, dude, that'd be so nice. That'd be just hilarious.
It'll be ironic because you look at those 90s teams for Colorado. Triple option. They ran that I formation. You look at the Colorado-Nebraska games in the early 90s. That's what they had. It would just be like justice, poetic justice for like the option. It's like you should not have gone away from this. That's what it tells them.
A little poetic justice. If a flower bloomed in a dark room, would you trust it?
That's a deep question. I don't have an answer for you right now, Marshall.
It's also a Drake and Kendrick Lamar lyric.
Of course it is. Great American poets, you can't blame them.
I mean, you write poems in these songs dedicated. I'm not gonna finish that line, but that might be too NSFW for our listeners.
We've already hit the line with these sexy bowl matchups. But unless you have anything else to say, Marshall, I think I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all square.
All right. Well, until next time, peace, love, and soul. See you, everyone.